The outdated factory contract is off.
Manager Robert looked at us with disdain. So, you're saying you want to cancel all transactions with us, correct?
That's what I said.
Robert laughed loudly as he said this, while Jeff glared at him with a hatred as deep as if he were staring at a mortal enemy. Understood. Then, please do your best without us.
Huh?
Robert tilted his head for a moment at my words, but quickly returned to his smug grin.
Employees of a pool company should just leave quickly.
Ignoring his words, Jeff and I left Foster Industries.
What the hell did you do? You delivered parts we supplied to you to our rival company, didn't you?
As soon as I picked up the phone, I heard Robert's yelling.
Stop the deliveries to the rival company immediately and deliver them to us.
No. I almost cut him off as I replied to his yelling.
Are you kidding me? Fine, we'll just get the same parts made by another company.
I was stunned by his words. Did he not know? All the parts we supplied to Foster Industries are patented. My name is Frank, 61-year-old. I am the president of a company that makes various device parts. Our company mainly produces coils. Even though we call them coils, they are used in a wide variety of machines, and we handle thousands of different types. This company was founded by my father, and I am the second-generation president. My father started this company right after graduating high school. He didn't seem particularly smart, but he was very proactive and well-liked by people. When my father said he wanted to start a company, the landlord where he was working part-time at the time sold him land at a bargain price, and other wealthy people provided the funds. He was a natural charmer. My father married my mother when he was young, but even after getting married, he continued to womanize for a while. People around my mother told her to endure it because men are like that. But my mother was much smarter than my father and resorted to smashing my father's beloved liquor bottles every time he cheated. Some of those liquors were quite expensive, but my mother mercilessly smashed them all. And after breaking all the bottles, she began discarding his watches, suits, and other valuables one by one. At first, my father put on a brave face, but when my mother sold his motorcycle without his consent, he finally broke down and promised to stop womanizing. And my father truly stopped doing so. After that, he devoted himself to his work. In other words, he had nothing else to do. By the time I joined the company, my father had mellowed out and was recognized as a work-focused, respected president. I worked with my father for 23 years, and when he retired at 74, I took over. The company has about 50 employees, all working in a large factory and an attached office. In the office, developers design coils daily, and factory workers bring those designs to life. Employees freely move between the two, and it's not uncommon for a designer to spend the entire day in the factory. I originally worked in development and design, but for the past few years, I've mainly been handling negotiations with clients. Since developing presbyopia, looking at blueprints became too difficult, so I stepped down from designing.
Boss, I can get this design to work no matter what.
The one who approached me was Jeff, the ace of the design department. Jeff, though relatively young at 45, creates incredible blueprints. It's no exaggeration to say that I was able to step back from designing because of Jeff's presence. Even so, Jeff sometimes comes to me for advice. I see. Indeed, this might be tough with the materials we currently have. Our company receives design requests from a wide variety of companies. Jeff is currently struggling with designing a coil for a transformer used in industrial equipment. It's intended to be used in environments that exceed the temperature tolerance of our current materials, making it impossible for us to produce it. I'll handle the materials, so Jeff, proceed with the design, assuming we'll get the right materials.
Understood.
After that discussion with Jeff, we somehow managed to acquire the necessary materials and complete the blueprint just in time. We rushed into production and managed to deliver the product on the due date.
We made it just in time.
Jeff looked at me with genuine relief. For the past few days, all our employees had been working towards this delivery. We usually set delivery dates with plenty of leeway, but this time it was a close call. There was even talk of informing the client about a potential delay. The client for this delivery was a company we've been working with for many years. However, I thought it best to call the person in charge and apologize for the tight schedule. The person in charge has been the same for several years and is someone I know well.
As long as it made it by the due date, don't worry about it at all.
The person in charge cheerfully reassured me over the phone. We all felt relieved, but a few days later, an unbelievable call came in. Jeff was the one who took the call.
Robert from Foster Industries is furious and demanding to speak with you.
Jeff looked confused and bewildered. Foster Industries is the company we barely managed to deliver to on time recently. Got it, put him through. I answered the phone.
Show some sincerity. How dare your shabby company look down on us?
His angry voice came through the phone. Not understanding why Robert was so angry, I frowned. Jeff looked at me with a worried expression. Sorry, but could you explain the situation in detail?
I'm telling you, I don't like your company's attitude. How dare a nearly bankrupt company deliver just in the nick of time?
Finally, I understood why manager Robert was angry. But even though it was close, we did meet the deadline. Is it really something to get this upset about? I've already apologized to the person in charge for the tight schedule. I'm sorry it was so close, but originally it was your side that.
Talking to some underling doesn't cut it. You should come to the company and apologize to me, the manager. This is why I don't want to deal with an outdated company like yours.
Does he have a grudge against our company? I don't recall ever meeting him in person. It's likely he's never even visited our company. With all due respect, we did meet the deadline, so I don't think we deserve such harsh words. He continued to insult our company. Irritated, I retorted.
A small company like yours has no right to talk back.
He shouted even louder. Realizing this was going nowhere, I sighed softly. Understood. Then, Jeff and I will come to apologize. Thinking it a waste of time to argue any longer, I decided we should go apologize to him. The next day, Jeff and I, carrying a gift, headed to Foster Industries. Jeff seemed unsatisfied with the decision to apologize until the very end.
This is ridiculous. We delivered on time, yet the boss has to apologize.
I understood Jeff's point, but we've had a long relationship with Foster Industries, and we would need to continue working with them. If he was that angry, it would be best to apologize, especially if it could smooth things over. When we arrived at Foster Industries, Robert was standing there, waiting for us with a stern look. His glare indicated that his anger hadn't subsided. "My name is Frank, the president. I deeply apologize for the delivery on the due date." Jeff followed suit a bit later after my apology. Jeff still seemed dissatisfied. He showed a reluctant expression on his face.
Is apologizing through words really enough?
"What do you mean?" I frowned at his words.
For instance, you could make this delivery free of charge.
"What?" Jeff couldn't hold it in anymore and glared at him.
Do you even realize what you're saying? We were just on the deadline, but we didn't miss it.
Jeff was shaking with anger, and I was getting anxious. But I understood Jeff's feelings. What he was saying was unreasonable, no matter how you looked at it.
What did you just say?
He is the ace of our design department. He drew up the blueprint for this order. Have you seen the blueprint? It was quite impressive.
Like I care to look at that.
I could feel Jeff's anger intensify at his response. Things were getting dangerous. Jeff might actually hit him. "I'm sorry the delivery was so close to the deadline, but making it free of charge is unreasonable, don't you think?" I spoke more firmly to control Jeff's anger.
Unreasonable? Who do you think is being unreasonable here?
His yelling only fueled Jeff's irritation. This vicious cycle was getting us nowhere, and I was starting to get a headache. "Could you call the person in charge? I'd like to discuss this with him as well."
Are you saying I'm not enough? How much do you need to insult me before you're satisfied? Fine, I'm canceling all contracts with your outdated company.
He looked at us with disdain as he said this. He had a look on his face that suggested he expected us to comply. "So, you're saying you want to cancel all transactions with us, correct?"
That's right. You should be grateful that a small, old factory like yours even got to work with us. Just do as I say.
He wore a triumphant expression, and I saw Jeff clenching his fists. This was really bad.
Without our business, your company will be in big trouble, won't it? I heard your former president was a womanizing fool with huge debts. I always knew your company wasn't reliable.
Sure, my father had been a womanizer, but that was in the past. Bringing that up then was inappropriate, and it felt awful to hear my father insulted.
Cut it out already.
Jeff was reaching his breaking point. "So, you want to cancel all transactions with us, is that right?"
That's what I said. Can't even understand English? You're really done for.
He laughed loudly, and Jeff glared at him with a hatred as deep as if he were staring at a mortal enemy. "Understood. Then, Please do your best without us.
Huh?
He tilted his head for a moment, but quickly returned to his smug grin.
Employees of a pool company should just leave quickly.
Ignoring his words, Jeff and I left Foster Industries. After leaving Foster Industries, Jeff's face was red with anger.
I can't believe that guy, speaking to the president like that, and even bad-mouthing the previous president.
Thanks for getting angry. It's okay. I feel the same way. I was also struggling to keep my anger in check. There's a good chance it would have been me who grabbed him if things had gone differently. Let's get back to the office. There's something I need you to do.
I'll do anything.
Jeff seemed to sense that I was planning some kind of payback against Robert. We hurried back to the company. Once back, we immediately took action. Everyone was united in their determination to bring down Robert, who had insulted both our company and my father. A month had passed since our confrontation with Robert at Foster Industries. Our company was thankfully busy every day, as if the incident had never happened. It was around the time when all the employees had nearly forgotten about Robert.
Frank, it's Robert from Foster Industries on the phone.
Jeff told me with a genuinely displeased expression. The surrounding employees also tensed up instantly upon hearing the name Robert from Foster Industries. Put him through. I knew this moment would come.
What have you done?
I heard his shouting as soon as I picked up the phone. Remembering his voice, I sighed wearily. What do you mean?
Don't play dumb. You supplied the parts to our rival company, didn't you?
I couldn't help but grin at his words. You finally noticed. But what's the problem? You said you wanted to cancel all dealings with us. We had to make up for the loss somewhere. So, we supplied parts to a company making similar products. I could tell that he was furious on the other end of the line. The surrounding employees also noticed and were smirking.
Stop messing around. Stop supplying our rival and supply us instead. We can't make our products without your parts.
Is that any way to ask for something? He probably ran out of the parts we supplied over the past month. We supplied parts in large quantities, delivering once a month. Couldn't make your products without our parts, but you knew that and still canceled our contract, right?
I didn't know. If I had known, I wouldn't have canceled the contract. Just supply the parts now.
No. I responded quickly to his angry demand.
What did you say?
I said no. What you did to our company is unforgivable, and we don't need to supply you. Our current clients never complain, even if deliveries are tight.
You're mocking me.
I heard a loud noise on the other end. It sounded like he was causing a commotion, and I could hear female employees screaming.
Your lousy company is the last thing we need. We'll never rely on you again. We can just get other companies to make the same parts.
I was stunned by his words. Did he not know? All the parts we supplied to Foster Industries are patented.
I'll never deal with your company again.
He spat these words and abruptly hung up the phone. How incompetent can he be, not knowing anything about the parts for his own company's products? I was beyond anger. I was just exasperated as I returned to my work. A few days after Robert's phone call, we had some unexpected visitors at our company. Robert and Foster Industries president, Dave, arrived without any appointment, causing a stir in the office. "What brings you here, President Dave?" I've had a long-standing relationship with Dave, and we sometimes go out for drinks together.
Frank, I am truly sorry about what happened.
Dave apologized deeply. He's only a year younger than me, but we consider each other the same age. Seeing him apologizing like that was quite a shock. Even Robert, standing next to him, was stunned.
Dave, it wasn't your doing.
No, Frank. I won't stop apologizing until you agree to resume our business dealings.
Dave looked firm as he said that. I could sense his firm resolve as a president to protect his employees.
Dave, there is no need to humble yourself so much to a shabby company like this. This will only damage our reputation.
Are you serious right now?
Dave looked at Robert in disbelief, and I felt the same. Did he not understand why they came over to our office?
I get where you're coming from, Dave. This company made the parts for our products, but I've handled it. I've given the parts to another company to make the same ones. It cost a bit, but they prioritized it for us.
Dave was clearly unaware of this and was shocked. I was just as astonished. I knew Robert was odd, but this was beyond belief.
What have you done?
Dave stood up and grabbed him by the collar furiously. At this point, I felt more sympathy for Dave than anger or exasperation. It's pitiful to have such an employee.
Did you hear what I said? We're fine without doing business with this company. Other companies can make the same parts.
That's impossible. All the parts we had made by this company are patented.
What?
Robert looked dumbfounded.
Patented? All the parts made by this shabby company? No way.
He still couldn't believe it and laughed nervously. However, upon seeing Dave and the rest of us not laughing at all, he finally realized it was true.
No way. Seriously.
As he muttered this, his face grew increasingly pale. Even a shabby company can develop excellent parts. Our equipment is state-of-the-art, but more importantly, our designers are skilled. I glanced at Jeff.
I'm nothing special. The reason this company grew is because of Frank, our president.
My father worked hard and had a natural talent for getting along with people. However, he wasn't particularly skilled in technology. He started the company not out of strong ambition, but because others offered him the money and land. Even so, skilled craftsmen who wanted to work with him were never in short supply. I've seen pictures of my father when he was young. He was very handsome, almost like a movie star, and had a great personality. While his womanizing was excessive, he was so likable that people overlooked it. My father's company quickly grew to become a mid-sized coil parts manufacturer, thanks to the talented employees he attracted. It was one of our employees who suggested making coils. A very talented employee pointed out that coils are in every machine, have high demand, but few companies produce them. However, despite having excellent craftsmen, We lacked skilled designers. That's why our company remained a mid-sized player until I joined.
Our president studied engineering at a prestigious university before joining this company. He presented at numerous conferences. Many renowned companies tried to recruit him, but he learned engineering for the sake of this company.
I realized what our company lacked when I was in middle school. Our company used to outsource designs, which the craftsmen then produce. I grew up around the factory and was adored by the craftsmen. They often complained about the simplicity of the parts they were making. Even the best craftsmen can't create parts without designs. Designing and manufacturing parts require different skills. And none of our craftsmen could create blueprints. The craftsmen stayed because of my father's charisma. When asked if they'd leave for another company, they said they'd never leave my father, even if our company went bankrupt. I decided to become a designer for the sake of these loyal craftsmen.
Frank then attended the best local high school, then entered the famous university's engineering department. He didn't go to graduate school because he didn't need to. He spent 4 years at university and joined a company.
I didn't pursue graduate school because it wasn't necessary. I wanted the credentials from graduating from that university. In this industry, degrees and titles are crucial. By my second year, I was already working with graduate students in the lab, focusing on part design. I spent all my time in the lab, often staying overnight before conferences. While my friends enjoyed college life, I was focused on acquiring as much knowledge, skills, and connections as possible. The coil I designed for my graduation project represents our company. We supplied it to your company too.
Yes, it's used in almost all our products. It even won the top prize at a world-renowned industrial parts competition.
Dave said this with a weary smile.
Frank is famous in this industry for his coils. And yet, you.
Dave held his head in his hands.
But it was because your company delivered at the last minute.
It was delivered on time. So there's no problem?
Dave snapped at Robert. Regarding that, we usually set deadlines a week before the due date. But a week before the deadline, we received an email saying our parts would be used in extremely high-temperature environments. This wasn't mentioned in the initial request.
Is that so?
Dave looked surprised. Yes, and our materials couldn't handle such high temperatures. So we scrambled to find suitable materials. We managed to secure the materials 2 days before the deadline and started manufacturing, resulting in a delivery on the due date.
How could this happen?
Robert's eyes started to dart around nervously. You know why, don't you, Robert?
What are you talking about?
Robert was sweating profusely. I spoke with your person in charge. Initially, there were no temperature specifications in the request. But later, it was decided to use the parts in high-temperature environments. The person in charge was ill with an infection, and it was agreed that Robert, the manager, would handle the additional request. The day Robert called, I contacted the person in charge. I asked why the temperature specifications weren't mentioned initially, as we could have delivered the parts sooner. The contact person didn't know about the temperature specifications or the email sent a week before the deadline. After investigating, they discovered the truth. You blamed our company for your own failure to communicate, didn't you? As I said that, Dave was trembling with anger.
So what if it was just a week before? The parts were delivered on time.
Saying it was on time, so it's fine, is unbelievable. Everyone, including myself, was too stunned to speak. In reality, our craftsmen worked almost all night for the few days leading up to the deadline.
Enough of this. Apologize to Frank and all the employees immediately.
Dave shouted at Robert, his face red with anger.
Why should I?
Why? You didn't report your mistake, made unreasonable demands on Frank and his team, and they still managed to deliver on time. How can you act like this?
Dave was voicing exactly what we all felt, and the employees were nodding in agreement.
Furthermore, you've been trying to have other companies replicate their parts. Those designs can only be created by Frank, so it's impossible to make the same ones. And you've spent a huge amount of money on it.
President Dave looked up at the sky, his face pale. Other companies must have wasted time, money, and manpower trying to recreate our parts. Even if they succeeded, they couldn't use them due to patents. And the money spent by Robert would never be recovered. This means Dave's company would now bear significant financial losses.
You're fired effective immediately, and I'll ensure all the money spent on other companies is billed directly to you.
What?
Robert's face turned to one of despair at Dave's words.
There's no way I can pay that.
You'll find a way, and be prepared to pay damages for the period when we can't produce our products without Frank's parts.
As Dave coldly declared this, Robert collapsed to his knees and started sobbing. He was playing the victim, but this was entirely his fault, and Dave's demands were justified.
Frank, I'm deeply sorry for this disgraceful scene. I will bring the responsible staff and come back another day to formally apologize.
Dave apologized deeply, grabbed the sobbing Robert by the collar, and dragged him out of the company. Following his dismissal, Robert was hit with a massive compensation claim. It was an amount no individual could possibly pay. In an instant, he found himself in heavy debt, and his wife left him out of disgust. His assets, including his house and car, were taken by his wife, and he ended up living alone in a run-down apartment. Unable to find a job in the industry due to his bad reputation, he now works long hours at a fast food chain, unable to pay off his debts, and has turned to consumer finance for help. He now lives in constant fear of debt collectors, enduring a hellish existence. As for me, we resumed our dealings with Dave's company shortly after. The day after the incident, he came to our company again.
I won't leave until you agree to resume business with us.
He shouted as he apologized to me. I couldn't remain unmoved by such sincerity. Furthermore, Dave's handling of Robert was flawless. He even offered to cover the overtime pay for our employees who worked extra hours to meet the deadline, which made me laugh. Dave's father was once a craftsman at our company. Deeply admiring my father, and dedicating his life to our business. I also worked with him for a while, and he was an exceptional craftsman, almost like my father's right-hand man.
Frank, I'm worried my father might die of shock if he learns our partnership ended.
Dave spoke with a serious face. Knowing his father well, I agreed that the shock might indeed cause an extreme reaction. However, I had planned to resume our business as soon as Dave fired Robert. Without our parts, his company would inevitably go bankrupt, which I didn't want, and my father would be furious. From now on, Dave and I will continue to support and challenge each other as leaders of our respective companies.